Hey, welcome to the very first episode of the Hey Steph Podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Webb. You can call me Steph. I'm so excited to be here back behind the microphone. Oh, I'm just really happy. I'm really happy to be making a podcast. If you have followed me for a while or you know who I am, you probably know that I used to originally host, and then co host another podcast, ran a different business. I was a nutritionist and a nutrition coach and intuitive eating coach. I still am a nutritionist. I have a master's degree in nutrition. I'm a certified eating psychology coach. And I closed my business a couple years ago and I'm back and I'm starting another podcast and I'm really excited. What I want to do in this first episode today is tell you the story of why I'm here, why this podcast exists, how things have changed, how I have changed, and why I've decided to launch this brand new podcast and come back to talking about food online. So this episode is going to be all about my shift, my story, and what you can expect here. So grab a drink. I have my water bottle right here. Even better, throw on some walking shoes and get outside and let's chat. Let me also say that this is going to be a very informal podcast. One of the things about being a professional anything online is there's kind of this workload that comes into it where you have to make things look very polished. You are expected, and I did this before. I edited my podcast. I took out ums and pauses and loud breaths and noises. And guess what? I'm not going to do that this time. I am filming this on my computer. This is not a fancy camera, as you can tell. I'm putting this up on YouTube. I'm going to put the audio onto a podcast RSS feed and just going to kind of throw it up onto the internet because I have things to say. And I also am not interested in perfection or in making everything seem perfect or a certain way. Like I am who I am. I have a lot to say. I have opinions. I have stuff to do. And I don't know. I just feel like if you like me, hopefully you'll stick around for all of it and just like the authentic me. I don't know. I just want to put this out. And so I'm putting this on a YouTube channel. You can watch it in all the places. I want to cast a wider net, I guess, a less perfect, but maybe a wider net, and hopefully help a couple more women with this stuff: nutrition, food, body image, weight, eating habits, exercise, all the things. So let me rewind just a little bit to give you some context. So, like I said, I have a master's degree in nutrition. There's an alert. I spent years practicing as a nutritionist, and I had a podcast called Nutrition Redefined. I had a coaching practice, and then I later brought in a business partner, and we did a podcast and a coaching membership together. And then we decided to close our business for a variety of reasons, and it was great. One of the reasons was I went into fiction writing full time. I wrote a novel and have been working on that since then for a couple years now. Recently, I had had some conversations with people, had gotten some messages from past clients and friends on Instagram, and it kind of started to wake my brain back up to how much I loved talking about food. Honestly, when we closed our business, I was done. I was not planning on ever coming back. I was like, I hope to never talk about food and nutrition publicly again. Um, Not in like it, I wasn't angry or I wasn't even super burnt out in like a negative way. I was just done. I was ready to move on. I was ready to write a novel. And I did, and I threw myself into that completely. And that's still something I'm working on. That's still, a what do they say? Like a stick in the fire or whatever whatever the saying is. Still working on that. And I also have another job. I'm the marketing director and social media manager for the Book Incubator, which was a writing program that I graduated from. So I love it. I also have just felt called, like almost compelled, like a magnet to come back and talk about what I've learned. Um, when I was practicing as a nutritionist before, I was very much working within the framework of intuitive eating. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that next week. Intuitive eating was a game changer for me after years of really horrible dieting experiences, hating my body, juice cleanses, veganism, smoothie cleanses, jumping from one plan to the next. I was so relieved to find intuitive eating. I had been stuck in this cycle of dieting for so long and felt like I was failing every single time. I was failing. And intuitive eating really helped me step away from food rules and restriction. It helped me make peace with my body. I was able to release myself from the guilt that I had felt for years around food. And for the first time, I felt free to just eat without constantly second guessing myself. Even through nutrition training, I had been like, well, okay, if there's a right way to eat, I got to find the right way to eat. And I felt like intuitive eating gave me permission to just be like, no, there is no one right way to eat. I still believe that, by the way. Um, I loved teaching women, you maybe, maybe you're one of the women that I taught, how to let go of food guilt and to tune into hunger and fullness cues and focus on healthy behaviors instead of weight loss. And it was very freeing and it was a beautiful thing to be able to say and believe, and I still believe this, that you are so much more than your body size. And I loved watching that resonate with people. Over time, I came to a realization that things in my own life and my own eating patterns and behaviors were not lining up with exactly the way that I wanted to feel. Intuitive eating helped me heal my relationship with food, and I was in the best place I had been mentally and emotionally ever. But physically, I had some moments where I realized, I'm not actually feeling my best or living up to my potential. I had gained a significant amount of weight through the practice of intuitive eating. And I'll be very honest with you that I was okay with that. I did not hate my body. I did not feel shame about my body. I really did. I put in a lot of work mentally and emotionally to make peace with that, to make peace with being in a larger body. And it was not something that I was mad about. I chose that. I chose that path of eating the way that I did. Gaining weight and having a larger body were, I will say, like objectively, a consequence of the way that I was eating, and I chose it. I still do not regret any of that. I don't regret intuitive eating. I don't regret my choices. The path that I took was perfect for me. It was exactly what I needed. And it was not the end of the road. I had some realizations. Again, I want to share three specific turning points with you that allowed me to wake up and be honest with myself about what I needed. And these all happened. I feel like I could come to these realizations because I was no longer publicly talking about food. It kind of freed me up to figure some stuff out. I had not stepped on a scale in years. I had worked with people about this, and I really believed that that number didn't matter. And I still believe that it's not the most important thing. I had, again, due to a variety of factors, stepped on a scale. And when I saw the number on the scale, I was shocked, but not necessarily because of the number itself. I wasn't angry. I wasn't like, oh, I'm so terrible or I'm disgusting. There wasn't any of that. But I realized that that data, that hard number, actually was having some power over me because of the way I was avoiding it. And I realized that maybe burying my head in the sand about my body weight had not served me in the way that I had expected it to. The second turning point was around that same time, shortly thereafter. I started trying to be a runner. Again, I have a long and troubled history with running. I have a lot of sisters who are runners, and running is a thing in my family. And I had some, like, I don't know, childhood PTSD about being the one with asthma, the one that didn't run, the one that wasn't athletic. I always hated cardio and exercise growing up. Um, just, baggage that we carry around. But I really gave it another college try, one of several attempts I've made in my life. And I have and had always hit terrible shin splints. And so I had hired a physical therapist, a fantastic weight neutral, body positive physical therapist. She was amazing. Love her so much. And she had me film a video of myself running to send to her so she could kind of analyze my stride and my running cadence and form and all of that. And when I had my husband film that video and then I watched it back, it was another like, whoa moment. And again, I was not disgusted with my body. I knew what I looked like. Um, but I realized as I watched that, I noticed that moving my body looked like it was harder than I wanted it to feel, if that makes sense. It was this wake up call again that I was not living up to my potential physically. I wasn't treating my body as well as I could be. And it was making it harder for me to run. It was making it harder for me to move in general. I wasn't strong. I wasn't fit. I moved, I exercised, but it was almost like yeah, self care, check the box. I did the thing. I moved my body. I wasn't pushing myself though. And I think when I felt pulled to running, it was something in me that wanted more, like a part of me and my body that was like, we can do more than this. We're made to move and we're made to do hard things and be pushed. And so that was another wake up call, seeing that video. And the third kind of, I guess, straw that broke the camel's back was I went to the doctor for the first time in a while. We moved here to Houston and got a new doctor and went in for a physical that I hadn't done in a long time. I know, irresponsible adult. And I found out that my cholesterol was high. I do have a genetic, predisposition toward high cholesterol. It runs in my family. And I was also like, what? Record scratch. I'm a nutritionist. I talk to people about cholesterol. How can I have high cholesterol? And that really led to everything kind of clicking into place, that I was not living in alignment with the kind of health I wanted for myself. And I needed to step it up. I wanted to step it up. I had healed myself emotionally, but I had not yet figured out how to really prioritize my physical health without swinging back into extreme diet culture. Shortly after that, I was on Instagram, as we do, as we are, and I saw a post from someone that I didn't even follow. I don't even know how I came upon it because I really was intentional about curating my feed. I didn't see diet stuff, I didn't see weight loss stuff. And I saw this Instagram post that said something along the lines of, like, it's okay to have goals around your physical appearance, even if you've been told that it's vain or shallow or self centered. It's okay to want to look better, basically. And it sounds really dumb to say that out loud, but that one post just like cracked me open. And I realized how I had been using intuitive eating and body positivity and weight neutrality and health at every size as a box to keep myself in, that I was scared to go outside of. I didn't want anyone to be like, well, what a bad intuitive eater. How dare you want to lose weight? And I realized like I wasn't giving myself permission to be in the body that I wanted and knew that I was capable of having with a little bit more hard work. I knew that I could still do this in a way that was intentional and flexible and intuitive to make better choices in my body for my body. But it just gave me permission and to do what I really wanted to do without feeling like I had to report to someone. No one was watching me anymore. I wasn't posting on Instagram about like, love yourself and like, you're fine as you are and eat what you want. Granted, that wasn't the whole message. Obviously, there's a lot more nuance to intuitive eating. And I had gotten lazy. And I'm a person who I really love data. I love numbers. I track my time. You guys should see my time blocked calendar. I love planning. I'm a very type A, possibly controlling. Don't ask my husband. Person, and intuitive eating is very like loose, right? And it's just like ambiguous, and I loved it. And it was like not quite very enough structure for me. And so when I gave myself permission to implement more structure on my own terms without having to report to the intuitive eating community, anyone watch what I was doing? I don't know. It was really pivotal for me. And I started tracking my food, and a lot of things started to change for me. I'm going to talk more about that in the next episode of specifics around my experiences. But I really feel like I've come to this place of balance. I am so happy. I am in the best shape of my life. I look better physically than I ever have, but I feel better than I ever even thought possible. My relationship with food is really good, better than it was with intuitive eating, even because of some of the tools that I've added to my toolbox. It's not about dieting or shrinking myself, but it was about kind of reclaiming some of those tools of dieting to make them my own, to use them in a way that felt good for me, and taking ownership of my health in a way that was empowering. I started tracking my food again because of the cholesterol thing, not to restrict, but to gather some data. And I fell in love with tracking my food. Absolutely loved it. Still do it to this day and don't ever plan to stop. I'll talk a lot more about that. Um, I started strength training, and I started seeing results in my body, not just on the scale, but again, in how I moved, in how I felt, in how I ate, and how much more confident I became. It wasn't allowing diet culture to steal or own. I just was like, I'm going to do this on my own terms, and I'm going to do what I want without a label of be a good intuitive eater or you're a dieter. Like, I just was like, I'm going to do what I want and try to just let go of all the labels and break the mold, and just me, just Stephanie. And it totally worked. So I'm telling you this because I'm sure that you have felt stuck between extremes. On one side, there's diet culture telling you, like, you need to get skinny. I don't know that that's even so much the message anymore. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of gone out of vogue to say that. I don't know. Maybe that's just in my circles. And then on the other end, I think there's this extreme of like fear of using tools that are used for dieting, the fear of structure. People get triggered by too much structure. People get triggered by talking about calories or macros or tracking or planning because it feels like, well, then I'm going to slip back into dieting. What I want to do in this podcast is show you how I live in this middle ground where I'm able to bring together information and intuition together and not exclude anything just because someone feels like they own it, or someone, some industry. But like me, what do I want and what works for me? I want to help you create systems that support your health without the pressure of perfection. I want to help you build habits that feel sustainable. I want to help you use tools like food tracking and meal planning and all these things to trust yourself more, to make choices that work for your life. I know how hard it is to want to feel better in your body. I've heard since I've started posting on Instagram, I've reconnected with a couple people from the before days, before nutrition times, and just saying, like, wow, yeah, I mean, this is something, it's really hard to find this middle ground of balance. And so I just feel like I've got to do it. I've got to be here. I've got to be talking and just sharing what I've learned. It feels important to me. I hope it's important to you. I have been where you are, and I feel like I found a new way forward that's rooted in both information and intuition. And my hope is to share what I've learned with you in a way that feels empowering and approachable for you. So, what can you expect from the Hey Steph podcast? You can watch it on video on YouTube. You can listen to it on audio. Every Wednesday, I'll be sharing just real, honest conversations, tips. I don't know, whatever I want really about food and health and habits. I plan to do, especially here at the beginning, a lot of solo episodes where I just have stuff to say and I want to teach you and talk to you about what's worked for me. Down the road, I do hope to feature guests and have interviews who bring their own unique, expertise and perspectives to the table. I'm particularly interested in people who have found ways to implement new habits, like long term. And that might look like people who have lost weight and kept it off. But again, it's not about the weight loss. It's about, I'm just so curious about what did you do? What was the turning point for you? What made this click? What made this stick? How did you make this your new life? That is really interesting to me. I know how I did it, and I'm going to share that with you. I'm also interested in interviewing other people who have done that. So I'm excited about that and have a couple great people in mind. I want to help you take small steps, doable, approachable, flexible, middle ground steps every day toward a life where you feel strong and confident and in control of your health. So I'm just grateful for you being here and tuning in to this first episode. If you want to come follow along on Instagram, come say hi. I'm over there at Hey Steph Webb. I'm like just very freshly back into this. I don't have a website yet. There's a lot of things I need to get put in place, and online business wise, I'm doing a lot of this backwards. Like you're supposed to have like stuff set up and like batch things ahead of time. So when people get here, they can listen to more than one episode. I'm just like, I don't care. I just want to put this up on the internet. I am very much I have an idea and I'm jumping in the deep end and just going for it. Um, Maybe I'm impulsive. I am very easy to pivot. I change my mind and I'm totally okay with that. I hope you are too. But don't forget to hit follow on here wherever you are listening to this so you don't miss an episode. Next week, I'm going to be diving deeper into what's changed for me. I'm going to be talking more about intuitive eating framework and one of the things that I have added. I want to make one more little closing caveat, I guess. I will not be teaching intuitive eating here on this podcast. I am no longer a certified intuitive eating coach. My certification has expired and I am not planning to renew it. I am not qualified anymore to do that in that I'm not going to pursue that. So this is not an intuitive eating podcast. I'm not putting their stamp of approval on literally anything I'm saying, and probably they would disagree with me on some things, and that's okay. I just am really excited to share with you my own experience. So I'm going to be talking about that, and I just have some great episodes lined up, and really just excited to be here. So thank you for spending time with me, whatever that looked like for you. If you have questions, I would love for you to reach out. Again, right now, the only place you can do that is on Instagram. So come say hi, follow me over there. I have a free download that you can get from Instagram. I did put up a video course that's called Anchor Down. It's my five most life-changing habits that I implemented. It's a $25 video course. I just had so much to say, and this was before I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a podcast. I did not want to do a podcast. I was kind of digging my heels in. My husband's like, why don't you just do it? And I'm like, I don't want to, but I do. I actually do really want to. So here I am. Anyway, on Instagram, there's a couple more things, but come say hi. And thank you for being here. And I hope you'll join me again next week. I'll talk to you then.